I have a user of the motorway who has decided to break protocol and just come and give us more graphical reasons why he agrees with Godfred this morning, because Godfred is asking for the motorway to be declassified. I don't really think I agree with Godfred this morning.
No, it's not even just about this. What I'm asking for is an urgent
Fixing.
how do you say, mobilization of resources
To do what to it?
to fix, to make it usable and safe.
How do you do that?
But I'm not an expert, but what I can see is that people are dead on that road every day.
So, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the reason I'm a bit confused is that there are a number of things. The Minister of Roads has already told us that there's a plan to expand the motorway so that they are going to redo the whole thing.
It's good.
So, in that plan, there's no money
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
So, are you saying they should fast track that plan, or while they wait for that one, they should do something to this one?
They know what to do.
Because
But
you see, the
it's
material-
not my place to offer them alternatives.
The materials used for the motorway is not like a normal that you can patch. In fact, when you patch the motorway,
You worsen it.
So I don't really know.
Then declassify it and reduce the speed limits.
See, I've been talking about the motorway for a long time.
You know why?
So I'm
But
looking for new words and I can't find
But
it.
yesterday,
Which is why I'm
on one of the tweets with the hashtag, somebody shared his Google map. The traffic, there was a 40-minute traffic on the motorway. You are in traffic for 40 minutes on a motorway.
But there are motorways that have traffic.
Yeah, for 40
If
minutes.
you are going to the airport from the UK, sometimes you get traffic.
Which motorway?
The M1. You can
Which one?
But that
M4, you can be on the
traffic,
motorway.
Bernard,
It's not like our-
It's not caused by
the poor
what
state
is-
of the road.
What is causing the traffic on the motorway?
Anyway.
So our traffic is what I
Because
say?
I'm sure that 40-minute hold up was because there was an accident on the road, a truck had overturned,
Yeah, but
loss
that's
or
the point.
something.
I'm not justifying the motorway thing. I'm just saying that. Look, I don't know. So you use the motorway every day.
Yes, ask him.
How bad is it?
No, it's very bad, Bernard. And now the issue is even compounded. You have a bad road, you have bad drivers, you have trot drivers, you have pedestrians crossing. So it's now clearly
A free for all.
No, it's a death trap because we have allowed the motorway to deteriorate over time. And particularly if you look at the Accra bound, moving from Tema to Accra, that's where you see the damage on the motorway, and actually shows, because then that is a side of the road that will carry a lot of the weight coming from the ports. So it even shows that we are importing a lot and we're using that side of the road.
The trucks come loaded and go back empty.
Bernard, we don't have potholes on the motorway. What we have on the motorway are death traps.
Hey.
You can see metals jutting out
Yes.
of the road.
Cut your
You can
thigh.
see the concrete actually is broken.
Yeah.
And people do not still recognize that the road is in a bad state. They are still doing
Speeding.
100 kilometers. And you have people crossing. Bernard. Sometimes you have a lot of people who stand and flag cars to stop for them to cross. You have trot drivers
Doing trust.
loading.
So you are going and then
It's-
it just veer off without even using the indicator.
Bernard, in the morning, I mean, when we start the motor, we have a prayer. We say, "Angel of God, our guardian dear."
Oh, you mean there's a new Catholic prayer for the motorway?
No, I tell you, Bernard, it's not a joke.
So we have the Pope must hear this.
No, it's not a joke. I'm sure when the psalmist said,
Yea, though I walk
"Yea,
through the
though I
valley
walk
of
through the
death.
valley," he was thinking of the motorway at the state.
My God.
We need to do something about it. What can we do in the minimum? First, let's reduce the speeds. I think that's what we can.
So
do
the
as
minimum,
starters.
the speed limit of 100 should be reduced.
should be reduced because the road is not in a state.
For you to drive at that speed.
It's not amenable for 100.
No, let's in the minimum get the trot drivers to stop loading on the motorway. That 1 cedi, 2 cedi you will get kill someone. Let's stop that. How difficult is it to say don't stop and pick pedestrians
On
or
the motorway.
passengers on the motorway? So if it's not going to, and that's why I agree with Godfrey to an extent, if we are not going to use it as a motorway and it's going to be
Usual road.
a usual town road,
So we should
then
put bus stops,
Then
put
bus stops,
traffic
then
lights.
exactly. But at this stage,
I say 50, max 80.
and in the evening, it's dark. Imagine yourself if you don't know the motorway. Please don't use it.
Hey.
Because for us who live there, we know
You know the corners, you know what to expect.
We know what to
When you
expect.
reach
You know
an
that this
hotel
lane, you have to be here. In the next 5 kilometers, you have to move to the side. My point, we need to do something.
Motorway
We
users,
cannot just be talking
regular
about
motorway users should send me a voice note to see if this is true. The reason
No, you don't need
It
to.
is
If you wish, we'll take a stroll. It's 19 kilometers
But
in
I've
and
been
out.
told breakfast daily this morning.
They're on the motorway.
They're on the motorway.
Oh,
It's not the best.
me, I'm tired of the motorway. I don't know what.
But I've told you, I don't drive as a rule. Let me tell you, Bernard. There are 2 roads I rarely drive on. The motorway I've not driven personally, as in driven. The last time I was on the motorway, I think it was either Fred.
Somebody caught you and put you in a car and tied you in the car.
Or I was in a bus going out.
So do you fly over it or how do you go?
No. I use the beach road if I have to enter Tema. I stay in the traffic, the dust, everything. I use the beach road if I have to go to Tema. But I limit my Tema visits. So I go to Tema once a year or something. So the motorway is one. I haven't driven on the motorway in about 6 years or so, if I'm not mistaken. The N1, unless I have like some serious work to do.
Oh, N1 too?
But I don't drive on the N1 for anything.
Hey,
From
then you are strong.
going through to down someone else. I will use my Tete Kwashi, drive through my Accra and then get to where I'm going.
So is
No, but I said, but the immediate things.
Caleb, you said the deputy minister was there yesterday. What did he go and do? Come and tell me. You said the deputy minister for roads was at the motorway yesterday.
He went to inspect the Boteman thing. He wasn't there because of what we are talking about.
The Boteman what?
The bridge.
They actually went to the community 18 under bridge.
Ah.
Apparently there are some boats and nuts
Don't
they used
don't
to
use
put
the
it
word under bridge. That is tunnel.
The cattle.
tunnel.
The cattle
The
path.
tunnel, yes, that tunnel. So the point was that there are some boats and nuts they've used to hold the thing together, and some people have stolen them, so they went to replace it and all.
So the minister went there to inspect the boat and not.
and some other projects.
Did he speak to you?
He did.
What did you have the voice?
I will get it for you. shortly.
What did you ask him?
No, I asked him about the toll booth. I asked him about the motorway expansion project. I asked him about a couple of other projects that are ongoing.
Did he say anything about when they would expand the motorway?
The expansion, he said he doesn't want to speak about it now because there are plans.
You
are
can't give
still
me one now.
afoot. Yeah,
But
he
when
says-
is Oga at the top?
yeah, he said he doesn't have capacity.
I can't
Then
tell you one now.
Then I realized we needed to talk to Terminator himself.
But Terminator wasn't there.
No, Terminator wasn't there. It was Jalula I met.
You know, Godfrey said something which the Minister of Roads, I like him because he's an action man.
It's beginning to
This
look
is
like
this is the time we need him
Charlie.
to go to the motorway and say, Charlie. Okay, go to Parliament. Maybe you should go to Parliament.
He's also tired.
Maybe you should go to Parliament.
He's been saying these things. This Abobo Yak
Okay, wait,
bicycles.
okay, let me ask you a question. What
So what should he do?
What can he realistically
If
do?
he says this and the police will not go and enforce that?
For example, he could go. You know, they usually in Parliament,
Yes.
the minister that gets the most questions is the road minister.
Yeah.
He could go and say, today, Speaker, I want to convert my questions into an urgent statement. That as Minister of Roads, I want the Minister of Finance to make extra or special budgetary allowance for the rehabilitation of the motorway in the interim while we wait for a full-scale contract to expand it.
Right.
He could go and say, if Parliament to give him some extra money to do like a makeover of the motorway, to remove the potholes and just fill it with something. Maybe, I don't know, do you understand what I'm saying? That agency, I'm sure they'll listen to me because almost every week there's somebody with a parliamentary question on roads. And the Minister of Roads is a very powerful person in the Parliament. So maybe he should do that. You know, apart from that, the quantum of money you need to actually expand the motorway, we've been discussing on this show since the days of Fifi Kwete as Minister of Transport. So it's like there's no money.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as we wait for the big things to happen.
So bring me the man's voice.
we need to change our conduct as well.
Okay.
As road users, as pedestrians. So you, the pedestrian, standing on the motorway to pick a trotro. What's that?
Because they live near the motorway.
So declassify it there. Town road.
Your safety, all these people crossing from one side to Spintex Road and back. We need to do something about it. And that one.
Do you know the problem? I want to burst your bubble. The motorway reservation, which has been given to allow for expansion of the motorway, has been sold to political cronies. If you drive on the East Legon boundary road from the tunnel all the way towards Ajiringano, that reservation was not supposed to have been sold.
Yes.
People have built pharmacies, they've built pork joints and all kinds of things on the motorway. And once you bring human activity close to a road like that, crossing is inevitable. So the deterioration of the motorway is not a one-day issue. No. It's systemic. It's probably
been gradual. No, it's been gradual.
I think that's probably the best analogy for a failed state. Not in the sense of a completely failed state, but if, in terms of, for example, you have about 7 assemblies around the motorway. There are people who cross the road who used to live in kiosks next to the motorway who go and basically do number 2 next to the motorway. There are cattle people competing with human beings on the motorway. When it rains, it floods. The middle class have also bought portions of the reservation and have put up fancy buildings. All of those problems are happening on a 19-kilometer stretch of road. That's just how Ghana is now, right? So I don't know. Maybe we should call the Terminator to ask him to some urgent questions this morning. Caleb is bringing us the voice of the deputy minister. But let me ask you another quick question.
About the road.
Yes, there are about 7 communities. There are about 7 constituencies that depend on the motorway in Accra. If there was a special levy to do the motorway, would you pay? Let me explain. So you have the motorway is East Legon, so that's Ayawaso West Wagon.
Right.
Then part of Adenta Trasako Valley is motorway. Then you have Ladadeko Topon, motorway. Then you have Teshi Lekma, because if you look at the Spintex Road side,
that side.
Then you have Tema West, all the way to Carlos's place. Then you have Tema Central.
Yes.
Then you have Ashaiman.
Yes.
Even Punkatamanso. So about 7 assemblies on the motorway. We are talking of financing. We are thinking of ideas. If they said that people within those 7 constituencies should pay a special property levy or some tax to serve as a seed money to do the motorway, is this something you think you will agree?
Oh no, I'll agree to something like this. But the next point is that the motorway is not only used by the people who live within that. So is it that when you pay that, you get a special pass when the tolls are introduced? Any levy to try and rehabilitate the motorway, I think that commuters who use it on a daily basis will be ready to pay. But I don't think that it should be reserved only for those who live around there. There should be a mechanism where anyone who is using the motorway who doesn't live.
You know why I'm saying this?
Yeah,
I'm saying this because in the past there was a Tema Port expansion project,
right,
which included a portion that was to make over the motorway. So usually when it comes to these things, you look at people who use the road the most. So the motorway was originally built because of the port.
Yes.
So when the MPS deal came, originally, I think the previous government, they had this arrangement where the port expansion project would include a motorway expansion. This government changed that. So they said they'll look for different source of funding. So my point is that the people who live within the precincts or who are close.
I'm ready to pay any levy. And I think that those who use it on a daily basis will also say that they are ready to pay any levy to ensure that the road is rehabilitated. Because there's no point in having a road that's unmotorable, a road that is risky. What's the point? But if we can contribute to it, yes.
I also think that the ministry needs to answer why they didn't continue the port expansion project in the way they met it. Because the port expansion project, I remember I've dealt with this long, was basically on the premise that yes, Bolore would come in with investment, they've expanded the port, but they would also vote some money to expand the motorway because the port depends on the motorway, right? For some reason, that project did not continue.
Right.
So I think maybe another angle would be to go to Parliament to ask the minister to explain what the new approach is. Do you understand? Because you are either paying for it by the port expansion or you are using the pull around or you are using the toll. The toll doesn't generate that much. The toll is a nuisance. So I'm saying remove the toll. But if you're going to remove the toll, what is your alternative? You see, there's aspiration is important, but I think that we've gotten to a point where we have to be more creative in our thinking, right? And I don't see a lot of different options being considered.
No, so Bernard, there are 2 issues: the human issue and then the infrastructure issue. I think that the infrastructure issue, fixing the motorway, is long term. It will need money. But the human behavior issues on the motorway. We don't need to wait to get money to say that we're putting 2-3 policemen at those spots, because there are spots where people will stop and load. You don't need money to do that.
I saw a speed camera being tested on the motorway. You see the kind you see in advanced countries where as you approach, so there are two kinds.
Right.
There's one which is like an average speed camera, which they put like one every 20 kilometers on a highway, so that it will calculate your average speed after say 40 kilometers and say your average speed is 100, so climb and slow down, right? And if you don't slow down, they will send you a ticket. But this one was like one that basically is deal with a sensor. So if it's on the right, like 2 kilometers from the toll booth
the toll
on the
booth from
Accra side.
Accra side, yes.
So as you approach it,
It will tell you yours.
if it's red, it means you are going over 100. If it's green, it means you are below 100. How much money would it cost us to do this?
No, how much money would it cost to say that today motorway minimum speed 50 kilometers
Maximum,
What,
you mean?
so maximum. What? How,
No. You know why? It's not about it saying it. You can't enforce it. The question about
Why can't you enforce it?
Is the issue with Ghana is not the laws. The issue with Ghana is the enforcement.
So the point is that
it's not about saying it.
That's what I'm saying. That the issue is enforced. How difficult is it to enforce this rule?
Because the police may habitually be collecting bribes. So if you want to enforce a law, this is the honest thing you should do. The reason why in the UK you will not overspeed is that, or you will not speed, is that your car number is linked to your
Everything.
Right.
So when you go through the congestion zone, it will come on your phone that Mr. Kapam, you've been billed £14 for using this congestion zone. Right. Now we have Ghana card. We have DVLA wants to do something newfangled.
Nothing is linked to anything.
Look, the car you drive has a car number. It should be linked to your Ghana card and your TIN number and your Momo number. If you drive above a certain speed, if Ghana is working, a text message will come to your phone debiting you for speeding. That's the only behavior will change in Ghana.
Yeah.
Because when you put a policeman there, 2-3 days, you collect 1 Ghana cedi, it's not going to work. All right. So the truth is that we know what to do, but we don't want to do it. So do you know what we do in Ghana? We go to parliament. Let's change the law. Motorway 50 kilometers. 3 days later, people went white. When you go, hey, Master, who's video? Your boys are here. You have to go home. And this technology is everywhere. What's the other problem? This thing I'm suggesting, somebody will see that a procurement opportunity. You won't even think about it properly. Let's go and procure speed cameras at exorbitant prices on the motorway so we can make money. The thing is rotten. That's what Samjona is saying. So,
Systemic, yeah.
If you don't systemize, you cannot change anything. And all the things you are doing and boasting about, it hasn't really changed life. So, if you want to say technology is working, driver's license, national ID, TIN number, Momo number, car number, speed camera, solve the equation. That's what you should do. We are in a hurry to campaign and say we are the best. Meanwhile, you can't even enforce 100 kilometers. Even 100 kilometers can't enforce it. Yeah. Even the 50 in Accra, who is enforcing it? Is it a police pen who are on TV telling you that they want to be MPP? Are they ones who enforce that thing? So you see the problem. We are not committed to the hard work of change. Even this conversation I'm having, people are listening to it. They are taking the part that can help them get procurement opportunity. They will go and take a proposal and say, oh, we want to bring this thing to Ghana, You see, we will suffer forever.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm telling you, if you are not committed to thinking deeply about how do you solve a problem like the motorway in a systematic way, you can't. Go to parliament tomorrow with this proposal. They'll do, yeah. Somebody has a cut. They'll bring a technology, it will not work. So this law will change, which is kind of go and write the law, big English. It will not be enforced.
Bernard, I
It won't be enforced.
get all that
Our
Bernard is saying.
problem is largely, Bernard, enforcement.
Yes.
Our problem is not lack of legislation. Our problem is largely enforcement.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm saying that the enforcement issue is who is enforcing? It's human behavior. We are the same Ghanaians who will travel outside and obey the rules. Why?
Because
The system there.
No, their leaders are held accountable.
No, Bernard,
That's
because
not true.
one, their leaders are held accountable. Two, there's a system to enforce it.
But their citizens are not better. So the problem is not the citizen. It's leaders who put in place systems that work.
Exactly.
That's
But
the problem we have here.
But here we know that we have a problem, but
Yeah.
we don't have the systems to enforce it. And then we'll pass a law or we'll create policies to say this is how we intend to do this.
Because that's the easy one to do.
Yes, we have. The ministry has said on a number of occasions, don't use tricycles on the motorway.
Oh.
It's happening.
Oh,
It's happening.
They are distributing Bola.
It's hap-
It's called Bola
Bernard,
Distribution Service.
Bernard, next door Liberia,
Yes.
motorbikes.
Yes.
There is a perimeter in Monrovia
Yeah.
where motorbikes are not allowed to enter.
Is it because
We can't
Liberians?
do that in
Is it
Accra.
because Liberians are better than Ghanaians?
It's not because there's
Yeah,
enforcement.
No, our leaders know this, huh?
This thing I've told you this thing.
It's not like because
That-
Liberia,
Liberia, yeah, just next
you
to
can't
Liberia.
ride a motorbike in town.
Tufla
But
Bulldog,
I've told
yeah.
you this.
As I would describe it.
Even Nairobi CBD, you can't ride the motorbike.
You
in
can't.
Nairobi
There's a
CBD. You have to
perimeter.
walk.
You can't.
Yeah, after a certain perimeter, you have to walk. Where the courts and everything are, you walk.
We can't do this here.
Because we want
You
to
don't
win-
even allow trot
We are
trolls.
pleasing everyone.
we
That's our
want
problem.
to
We're
win.
pleasing
We
everyone.
want to win elections.
But Bernard, you see, my
We want to
point.
win elections.
Before we enter tech and social media, my point on this is
We've already
I hear
entered.
you.
Yes.
I hear. Yeah, and the big trend there is fix the motorway anyway,
Yes.
Nathan.
Yes.
So prepare. I hear you on all the things that you've seen about the systemic way of fixing this and all that.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is we've seen citizens, residents, locals of certain places in this country protest over roads in
Yeah.
their communities.
Yeah.
And immediately we see graders there.
Yeah.
We see something there.
Especially when there's a by-election.
Whichever one. The same way that we treat those situations is the same way we should treat the motorway, especially because the motorway, somebody dies on it every single day. The roads that sometimes we protest about, nobody dies on them.
Yeah, right.
The motorway, every day.
Maybe we should highlight it more as a media. We should,
Every day.
We should do maybe we should have a motorway watch. Sometimes when the media pricks the people's comfort with very graphic images of what happens.
Maybe
it will help.
just taking your microphones there to ask the people who are crossing. Why are you doing this?
Or show
don't you think about your own safety, your life? I mean, that's what's important to me. Crossing this road, livelihood,
They've done it many times.
and it's a question of livelihood. He's moving
maybe we should more graphic in what we show on TV. Every week, every day somebody dies.
But when it rains on the motorway,
Maybe the shock therapy.
when it rains on the motorway, you will know in the minimum 2 accidents. It will happen. It's like clockwork.
Yeah.
Anytime it rains, it will happen. Even if it drizzles on the motorway, you see it.
Yeah.
So it's not like the data and the information is not out there. What mine is, I know there's infrastructure, there's money issues. Is the human behavior, the human conduct part, the drivers, those who are doing the 100, the trotro, the people who are that's my problem.
The human behavior is what you've allowed them to do. You've trained them by not enforcing the law. If you have children every day who get up and urinate in your hall, and you say, "Oh, this is my children. This is my children. Why are you doing this?" That's what they will do. So you've trained them to do it. So I think the problem is that you have not put in place a system to ensure they do otherwise. There's no consequence for foolishness. I'll bring in the deputy ministers. Somebody said he tuned off when Caleb was talking about deputy ministers.
Yeah, I told you.
No. It doesn't work like that. When we talk and say what we say, let's hear what the people we pay taxes to also have to say.
Yeah, but
You see, no, we can't say that you don't
No,
listen
hold
to
on.
him.
I'm not.
Listen to him and then decide what to do. But don't say you don't listen to him.
No.
Because we can't just come and talk. We have to speak to the people who we pay
Yes,
to do
you-
the work.
Yeah, I know. You've spoken to them. The person is tuning off because the person is basically saying there will not be any answers
No, you haven't
in what
finished,
you hear.
but the person hasn't finished listening to the man. The man just started talking no way, but or unless you just want to hear their own voices.
No,
listen to the deputy minister. In fact, play the deputy minister this morning.
I'm for
Caleb took a mic. I sent Caleb there yesterday.
You let's hear him.
Let's
You
listen
let's
to
hear
the
him.
man.
Flower pot overhead project. We were there last week or so. The work is progressing, and we are on schedule. Seriously speaking, and we are very hopeful that in due course they will bridge the motorway and also do all other things that are necessary, and they will finish within the stipulated time.
Right. What about the Tema Aflao, Tema Akosombo dualization projects? We've seen that these have been slowed down for some time.
Of course, we are all aware of the situation that Ghana finds ourselves in, and work is ongoing on that project as we talk. We are speaking, but albeit slowly, and we are very sure that Ghana will come into agreement. I mean, we will reach an agreement with the Paris Club, so that funds will be released to the contractors to speed up the work on the Aflao Tema runabout.
There are a couple of projects that have also stalled. We're talking about the Obeche Lamte interchange. We're talking about Takrady PTC. We're talking about Swami interchange, which has begun. Is this the same reason for all of these projects stalled?
Not all of them. Swami interchange is ongoing, and Swami interchange is a composite program, The bridge, the flyover, the whatever, the interchange, together with arterial roads. They are working on the arterial roads, and the interchange will also come on stream. Regarding the PTC and other things, as I told you earlier, the IMF program has come to stall it. But then I'm very hopeful that Ghana will come into agreement with the Paris Club, and the funding agency will start releasing money again for all these projects to start, including the BHB Lamte interchange.
Tell us about the Adenta Dodowa stretch. It's not begun at all.
Yes, that one has not begun. We all know. And I think the last time His Excellency the Vice President went to commission the Nyinam project, he appealed to the Chinese government to fund it for us.
Because that was under the Sino Hydro plan.
Exactly. So
how far with
that is the plan. We planned it under Sino Hydro plan, but the money was not released. And I think His Excellency made an appeal. We are hopeful that the government and the people of China would be kind enough to release that funding for us to be able to do it for the people around the Dodowa stretch of.
We've seen construction works on the Kwabenya Brekusu Ketasi Road as well. That has slowed down, if not stalled at all. Don't make it as
no, that work shouldn't slow down. It should be ongoing because the funding is different than all other ones that we mentioned earlier. So I think the work is ongoing on that project as we speak now.
But the residents say it's been very slow compared to when it started.
You know, construction is such that sometimes if they are working, you will not notice it. Normally, the main work, people want to see the main work, that's the pavement of the roads, before they agree that work is ongoing. Maybe what they are doing now, they are doing it further from where those people who are complaining reside. I'm sure that the work is going there. I know the contractor, First Car, is a very good contractor, a local contractor.
Finally, the motorway expansion project, when is it starting? Because we were told this would
to talk about the motorway now because the plans we have are still in the pipeline.
So there you have it.
You see why the people don't even want to listen.
I wouldn't want to talk about the motorway now because the plans we have are in the pipeline.
The pipeline is broken. The pipeline, it is broken.
You can't make this up.
I told you. You see why the person tuned off?
No, wait. He says he wouldn't want to talk about the motorway now.
But we must talk about it now.
Because the plans they have are inside the pipeline.
Yeah, well, as the plans are inside the pipeline, people are at the hospital. People are at the morgue.
Are you sure that's what he said?
No, but we heard the voice.
Is that all you asked about? Did you ask him? Did you follow up the question?
No, so I
first of all, motorway matter. Yeah. The answer the man could give is that he wouldn't want to talk about it now.
Yes,
because the plans are inside the pipeline.
Well, that's all he can say. What else can he say? That's all he can say.
This is shocking.
That's all he can say. Which is why we are ramping up the pressure, and I'm making it clear that we are trying to ramp up the pressure because this happens anywhere else, we would see the trucks with some sand or something.
Yeah, they won't move.
Trying to solve the problem.
Because since the weekend,
people who use the road, some of these countries where like the truck driver say they won't drive again until you fix the motorway.
Yeah. Since the crash occurred on the motorway around the top, if you go there now, you still see the wreckage of the toll booths. It's wrecked. It's just like that, and it's barricaded that way, and nothing has been done.
I want to analyze the man's answer. The man said he wouldn't want to talk about the motorway because plans are inside the pipeline.
But we must talk about the motorway now. And we are not talking about the expansion on the other side. We're not talking about the bolts and nuts that were stolen at 18 to Boteman. We are talking about the motorway that everybody knows as the motorway.
Charlie, a shock. Play more of the people's comments. I can't believe this.
I'll be over to you.
Honorable Jalula. Plans are in the pipeline. Hey.
So much for talking about this particular topic because it's a very delicate topic that we all need to talk about. Ministry of Roads and Highways have to come to the rescue of the motorway. Currently, the motorway is in a state of emergency. I wish there could have been another route that we all can use. Now, when you're coming from Accra towards Tema, it's quite better, but just that a lot of people cross the road in the morning and in the evening. like I said, the road is very dark. And sometimes you wouldn't see the person early when you're driving at night. And due to the long distance or how the road is structured, it's difficult to see them. But the moment you realize they are just in front of you, so you always have to be careful when driving. But the most intriguing part is when you are returning back from Tema to Accra. The entire stretch from the Shama overhead to the toll booth is in a very deplorable state. This particular side has not just potholes, but they are manholes, which I presume they are bigger than those that are in our houses. So you can actually see the metals showing up, and it is causing a lot of traffic. The funny enough, since Monday, police has been stationed just, I think, just before Underbridge or after Underbridge, and they are always there from probably from 12 to maybe somewhere around 6 p.m. And look at how dangerous this motorway is. Already we are slowed down by the potholes, and police are always stationed there checking people's cars again. So there's a huge traffic all the way from the new roundabout or the new overhead down to Underbridge before you can be able to have a free road to go. And just after, there is a very big pothole just on the road, and it's very terrible. Our lives are at risk. So thank you so much for talking about this particular topic. Let us hope and pray that nobody get hurt, and yet something must be done about it. Thank you so much.
Bernard, the motorway is now a death trap. I use the motorway every day. We don't have potholes on the motorway again. We have gullies. And it is so amazing how our engineers think. A concretized road, when you want to fill the pothole, you use bitumen. Bitumen responds to heat. The concrete gathers heat when the sun is up. And when you use bitumen to patch it, automatically it will melt off. Bernard, these trotro drivers, the havoc they are causing on the motorway. Look, anytime I am on the motorway, there is a spot when we get to, I tell my wife that, Charlie, this place is a disaster in waiting. How people crisscross, trotro drivers stop to alight and to pick up passengers. Bernard, this is a motorway. For God's sake, this is a motorway. A motorway that a pothole can be the cause of traffic for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. A motorway that you should be able to cover within 8 to 10 minutes. Bernard, the motorway has outlived its use. It has outlived its use. It's a disaster now. Every day there is an accident on the motorway. Every day there is an accident on the motorway. What is happening? God bless you guys for your good work.
Hi, Bernard. Good morning. So for those of us who use the motorway on a daily basis, it's just by grace. It's by God's grace that we are alive each day. So the kind of things we see, it's that bad. And honestly speaking, Bernard, if we do value human life in this country, the motorway would not be in the state it is today. It's such a shame. It's so bad. And every day it's all about talk from government upon government on how they're going to deal with the motorway. I think enough is enough.
Bernard, I beg, none of the things you are saying will fix the motorway. I use it. A demonstration that brings the highway to a standstill till it's fixed is the only way. The government is in no way as exercised in this matter as you are. They must be forced to tackle the issue. With respect to the government and this matter, you are wasting your time. Please play some music as we get ready for our demonstration.
We say fix the country.
a few more comments on
Yes,
the motorway this morning.
Kwabena Buedi says we drive on the motorway by memory, not by sight. That's quite profound. He says we drive on the motorway by memory, not by sight. Kwabena Buedi. Francis from Tema says, my wife teaches at WAS at Denton. We stay in Tema. As a result of the bad nature of the motorway, she's afraid to drive her car to school.
Oh.
I, the husband, who's on retirement,
I've
now decided to drive her to school every day.
You're a good man. You're a good man.
Ben, do we use levies for the purpose for which we take them in this country?
Good question.
What was the tolls we were taking the motorway for? What was the tolls we were
Taking
for
from
the
the
motorway used for? Was it put to good use? The streetlight levies. What is the state of our streetlights? We generally don't mind paying levies so far as it will be used for its intended purpose. This is Fifi Tamaklo. Michelle Camp is where our next message is coming from. Frank said, it says, Bernard, the motorway is really a death trap. I use it each day and it's a disaster. I'm about using the motorway and I've started praying. Bernard, until a prominent public figure or politician loses his or her life, we shall lament on this time a motorway issue to no avail. Isaac Brown, Awoshi. K in Accra says, Aloski. In Ghana, when problems crop up, the citizenry take advantage of the problem, and the leaders also take advantage of our mindsets. We are a problem unto ourselves.
Charlie.
Clear indication of failed leadership is this motorway. Bernard, they cannot stop picking people on the motorway because there are residents along that route. Michael from Amasaman.
Okay.
Good morning, City CBS.
Morning.
I encountered cattle crossing the motorway last Monday. This is Mauli from Israel.
I hope you stop for them to cross.
Yeah, but it's quite a regular sight actually.
But don't forget that the original channel was for the cattle.
For the cattle.
Those days, then human activity was not that much around the area. All right, more comments.
Okay, Bernard. Good morning, Bernard. I was on the motorway yesterday. The traffic was terrible. I also say a prayer every time I start using the motorway. I always tell God that my children are still young, so He should protect me on that motorway.
Paul,
you
will hear your prayer, okay?
Bernard, I agree with Godfred. The motorway is in a bad state and needs to be declassified.
Completely.
Good morning, team.
Morning.
The Tema motorway is an extension of the Kanda highway. No difference. Kujo East Lagos. Oh,
But the Canada is even better. Canada highway
have you
is
seen the motorway?
No, Canada Highway has traffic light, but he's talking about the busy activities around.
Okay. Good morning, Bernard.
Good morning.
Why are you worrying, Godfred? Whatever they will do to fix it is all we want. People are being paid for doing nothing. Godfred, preach on. Jones Adoboy says this one from La. SJ from Spintex says, good morning, guys.
Morning.
This motorway is a death trap. It's dark. It has manholes. And it's very busy with people like a normal road. I saw someone start burst by one of the 3 holes on the Accra-bound side.
It's deadly.
It's dangerous.
I've bursted on the motorway before.
Okay.
It was in the night.
Victor Hyde also says, Bernard.
And I changed the tie. Bro, you're not busy.
Bernard, he says,
my back tie.
Victor Hyde says, Bernard, the motorway is really a death trap. Potholes, people crossing, no street light and U-turns. The tortoises are worse. We need help. Good morning, City FM.
Morning.
They should start with removing the toll booths because it's no longer funny. I used it just an hour ago. Someone's also asking about the Kanisi car.
I like that. It's no longer funny.
Charlie, Yatra. Besides all this, trotters are also just stopping illegally, causing panic on the motorway.
The trotters are alone to themselves.
Bernard, the issue of trotters picking passengers on the motorway will only stop if the squatters along the stretch are also moved. Reducing the speed limit on the motorway won't help. People drive at 40 kilometers per hour on a free road with an 80 kilometer per hour limit and drive at 120 kilometers per hour in a 30 kilometer per hour zone. Driver behavior is the problem. A cardinal principle of driving is to adjust your speed to the road conditions. If the road is bad, you slow down. If it is wet, you slow down.
Very important point as well on this matter.
Bernard.
Yes.
Bernard will give this government a new idea to introduce new tax. What happened to e-levy that was meant to replace road tolls?
My plan is not to give government new idea.
They say stop giving the government ideas. Nelson from East Lagos says drivers make U-turns. I mean U-turn, guys.
Every day.
Sometimes I want to give up. Nelson from East Lagos is not very happy this morning. Let me
Lots of comments on the
Aloski, the motorway toll booths should be handed over to a road construction company to toll users. Use the proceeds to rehabilitate the road and use monies from the toll to maintain it. A place in East Legon did same. You guys reported about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, Citi.
Morning.
My name is Mystery One.
Yes, please.
I live in Fienya, New Jerusalem.
Wow,
I use the motorway every day to work at cantonments. As for the motorway, it is no more a motorway. The potholes, the aboboya, the articulators, the trotros, the people crossing, and the most annoying one, the DVLA checkpoint at the beginning, at the Tema site. It takes you 3 to 4 hours from Afienya to cantonment. Can you imagine? Good morning. And it's not work that you are going to. It's torture you are going to.
Yeah, because by the time
3 to 4 hours to
by
get
the
to
time
work.
you get to the office, you are
3 to 4 hours.
done.
I'm boss safe. 3 to 4 hours. When that,
What work is he doing? You should use Zoom.
but he might need to be there physically.
Oh, by
3
the
to 4 hours to get to the office.
time- what is he doing there? How long will he spend there?
Bernard,
He's not being productive.
Kweku from Bawe says, hi Bernard.
Yes.
About the levy. I don't know of any levy which is used for the purpose for which we collect it in this country. We have enough levies already. Please, Bernard, the people who don't like this, your levy.
I was just proposing something.
Stop proposing.
Okay, I've stopped.
Good morning, team.
Morning.
The Tema extension is an extension of the Kanda Highway. No difference.
Hey.
Yesterday evening, I was thinking they should give a car to 10 prominent people from different corridors of power. And at night, they should be told to drive themselves from Tema to Accra using the different access points and leave at both Tema Kwashi exits. The motorway is dangerous from before you join it to after you leave it. Kojo from East Legon.
So their punishment they should drive on
They
the
should
motor-
drive on it themselves at night. Hi, Ben. Good morning.
Morning.
We are looking for money to build SkyTrain. The motorway is Nkrumah's problem, not ours.
Cynical.
This is from Nene.
Cynical.
Please.
Yes.
My issue is about the Boteman road construction. A whole community's water source has been cut off for the past 8 months. Please help us.
Caleb, come back. They are told, Caleb, you are the one on the Boteman Road project. This listener is saying or alleging
That their water has been
that
cut off
the
for the
road
past
project.
8 months.
By the way, how is that project going?
Botema Road.
Has it met the motorway yet? Have they finished?
Oh yes.
They are doing some skirmishes are there.
They are, so they've now leveled, paved it. So I think the next thing will be bitumen, casting bitumen on that end, and then it's better. The dual carriage into the communities itself has the bitumen first coat, and so later on the second and final phases will be done.
What are they? Are they doing a runabout or what are they doing at the Boteman?
So if you're getting to the section that connects to the motorway, there's a roundabout there, so that if you're coming from Tema, you want to go to Adenta, then you slip off onto that end, and then you go. And then if you're coming from Boteman, you can use that end also. So there's that roundabout somewhere in the middle of it, and then the road itself connects all the way to School Junction.
So now that they are doing a nice road from School Junction through Boteman, it's in such a bad state, isn't it? Cost 90.
Bernard, it's
for people to drive from School Junction. So basically, they're saying if you're from Tema going to say Kwabinya or
Yes.
to Adenta, you don't need to cross the full motorway. So you go off Boteman, enter School Junction, which is a good thing, but I don't know.
It's a breath of fresh air for you, so that you don't continue the very terrible part of the motorway. But yes, I mean, the expansion of the motorway project has also been considered as they build these roads to connect the motorway, because when the minister went to inspect it in sometime in June, he did talk about the fact that they are really mindful about the expansion of the motorway, so they are cautious of all new projects that are
But I
linking
really
into the
think
motorway.
that the ministry deserves to give us a proper answer on the motorway, because that what the deputy minister said, I'm not buying it. That there's something. What's the meaning of there's something in the pipeline? Like seriously, what does it mean by that? Because we know there was a motorway expansion project under the Ghana port expansion, which this government sort of stalled or cancelled. So they should tell us what their plan is for the motorway and stop telling me that there's this in the pipeline.
Even if it's in the interim, to
What do you mean in the
save
pipeline?
lives. I mean, there's no excuse to saving lives.
No,
Mr. Abayache from Ajay Kojo says, I use the motorway every morning, but the technology you're discussing can be built right here in Ghana by our very own students at the university and by other corporate entities. Bernard, I just saw a police officer greeting a preacher who has positioned his speaker and PA system on a pavement meant for pedestrians. The enforcer is saluting the offender.
You did him a chase.
From Kopi.
Read it again. You mean the policeman is
That's Bernard.
Say praise the Lord.
I just saw a police officer greeting a preacher who has positioned his speaker and
Obeyed it.
PA system on a pavement meant for pedestrians. The enforcer is saluting the offender.
So they will both say Yibima Yesu at the end of the day.
This one's better than teen. The motorway is more than dangerous, especially the Tema Accra part.
Yeah, that side
Good
is
morning.
terrible.
It's 66 years after independence. What have we managed well? Common road we cannot fix. Just look at the state of our water bodies. Galamsey, we cannot fight it. All we can do is to organize big conferences and give people awards for doing nothing. Let's accept it. Our leaders are not capable of solving our problems. This is David from Tema.
How profound.
The motorway is the most famous road in Ghana, followed by the N1. I live in Cape Coast and I have never used it, but I've heard of it. In Cape Coast, tricycles, Pragia, are banned from getting onto the main road. Also, they close at 6 p.m. Bernard, imagine my surprise when these two rules were followed by the riders.
So it's possible. It's doable in some places.
Martin
from
Lashibi. Good morning, Citi.
Morning.
I just used the motorway.
Okay.
Tema to Accra stretch. And the time I drove, I experienced throttle drivers that went on and off the road without indication, and car drivers swerving potholes and other cars driving at high speed as if it was a Formula One race. So the final one from Asantua says, how can cars screech to a halt on a so-called motorway to allow people to cross? Sometimes even police stand there and stop us. Ridiculous.
Hey! As they say, one serial besu.
And then a few more on my phone. So my good friend, convener of Porcupine Tertiary, Big Joe, he's a regular user of the Tamoto. He says just last night, 2 ties, poof, he burst 2 ties on the road just last night.
And Bernard, the way the stretch is long, it gets dark at night. If you are stranded on the motorway, there are robbers all around as well.
News
And
just
then
coming
safety.
in whilst you're on the motorway issue.
Okay, I have one more.
The police have interdicted 3 officers. This is in relation to the concern.
Oh, give me the update.
We just got Chris Asaf Krofi has sent a release from the police, his Assistant Commissioner of Police.
Please read it.
The police service has interdicted Commissioner of Police, COP, Mr. George Alex Mensah, Superintendent, Mr. Emmanuel Eric JB, and Superintendent, Mr. George Asari, in connection with the audio tape which became a subject matter of investigation by Parliament. The interdiction is to make way for disciplinary proceedings into their conduct in line with police service regulations. So that's just news coming in.
I'll get your comment on this, but this is interesting insight on the motorway. So, good morning.
Morning.
I can't imagine the citizens' revolt that might occur should people be privy to reasons why certain critical projects haven't been executed. So, motorway, for instance, the project was concessioned under the Port Expansion Project.
True.
The government comes and cancels it just before it starts.
True.
A tender is put out for PPE.
Yes.
Vinci and Mortar Engel are shortlisted. Project is given to Mortar Engel against all odds, and evidence adduced that Mortar Engel had then filed for bankruptcy in Portugal.
Forgive.
Mortar Engel now fails to raise the needed funds.
Hey.
Government then varies the contract and turns it from a PPP to an EPC plus F contract, with government trying to commit our sovereign funds, which is GIF, into this. Let's be prepared for a legal brouhaha between government and all the other companies that were eliminated from the earlier bid due to the nature of the contract and the subsequent variation. There's some insight also.
You have to read this thing again.
I should deliver it for you again.
Yeah, because
That's why the pipeline is choked.
I know about the first part of what he said. I'm not sure. So just repeat it. This very serious thing is pointing out that
Yes, so it says the motorway was concessioned under the Port Expansion Project. That's the APM Bolore project, which you mentioned.
yes,
A government comes and cancels it just before it starts.
that is true.
A tender is put out for PPP. Vinci and Mortar Engel are shortlisted. Project is given to Mortar Engel against all odds, and evidence adduced that Mortar Engel had then filed for bankruptcy in Portugal. Mortar Engel now fails to raise the needed funds for the project. Government then varies the contract and turns it from a PPP to an EPC plus F contract, with government trying to commit our sovereign funds, which is GIF, into this. Let's be prepared for a legal brouhaha between government and all the other companies that were eliminated from the earlier bid due to the nature of the contract and the subsequent variation. Also, a couple more on this. This one says, I live at Shai Hills Afienya and work close to Parliament House. I leave home at 4:30 a.m. in order to do the 43-kilometer journey just under an hour. When I leave the office at 3 p.m. for home, it takes an average of 1 hour 45 minutes. When I leave after 4 p.m., the average travel time is 3 hours 20 minutes. The longest time it has taken me to arrive home from work is 4 hours 52 minutes. Over 4-hour travel time has happened not less than 5 times in the last 4 years. So this is somebody who lives in that part of town telling us just how long it takes him to move from Afienya to Accra, Parliament House, if he leaves at a certain time. Then, yes.
The Afienya people are really suffering. Afienya, Michelle Camp. You know, their road, there's a busy road which has not been dualized. So they suffer what's called double jeopardy.
Yes.
They come to the motorway, and the motorway is also bad. So I
And
don't
this is
know.
a very upset resident of Temau says, guys, and the sad thing is, the Roads and Transport Minister uses this motorway every day.